presentation by campus construction management in the town on the Sandbar Park waterfront revitalization project, the progress here in 2022. That was a mouthful. I'm going to hand the baton off to Jared and Mary. No Chris, huh?
Good guy today. I'm right here. Before we get started, thank you guys for having us. It's a great opportunity to highlight a really exciting project in the town.
And I should say, Jared is with campus construction management, and Mary is our town engineer.
Yes, we wanted to give an update on all of the progress down at Sandbar Park. There's a lot that's happened this year. Want to start off by saying thank you to the team. So Webster Economic Development Alliance has been critical in getting us grants for this project. Castro Associates as our civil engineering consultant, Mayor Landscape Architect as our landscape architect, Campus Construction Management, who helped with the bidding phase and is now our full-time inspector and helping us with construction management. And then can't forget the Ready Commission for helping fund this project, as well as the Department of State, and then all the support from the different departments of the town of Webster.
So the first few slides that we're going to get into are probably the least exciting, but some of the most important. The budget. We started off the project with a total allocated budget for this portion of work of, and I'm going to talk in round numbers, so $8.8 million roughly. Of that, we opened bids in March and awarded Keeler contracts in the amount of $7.4 million. That paired with consultant fees for Canvas, Passero, Air, Landscape Architecture, and some other incidental costs, totaled $1,050,000. And then of that total construction cost, we take 5% for construction contingency, and that's used for anything that's unforeseen, any changes within the job that covers things like change orders. The initial budget was $373,000, of which we have spent on change orders $80,000, leaving a remaining $292,000. We're in a really great spot budget-wise. The initial onset of the project, most of your unforeseens with a project like this, things that are underground, things that you can't account for necessarily before you bid a project, these are the things that usually eat up a lot of that contingency cost. We're through that now. We're above grade. So it's a really good sign to be in the position we are. So budget-wise, the project is currently under budget, and I will cautiously optimistic about moving into the 2023 year, being in that same spot at the end of the project. So, next up is schedule. What we're going to do is kind of give an update on the goal and where we wound up at the end of the construction season this year. So the Lake Road portion of the work, the realignment and lifting of the road, a portion of it paid for through the Ready Grant MO 56. The goal was 75%. That brought us a road paved to binder and striped for 2 lanes of traffic. We achieved that goal on October 27th when we opened the roadway for 2-way traffic. The actual progress is at about 85%. We were able to complete additional drainage, additional sidewalk work. So we're trending 10% ahead of schedule as far as that part of the project goes. The next portion is the flood wall. This was planned 2023 work, just based on the contractor's input. The 10% goal is to make sure we have all of the submittals, how the wall is going to be built, everything through engineering and approved so they can actually put a shovel in the ground. We did that and a little bit more. We got some of the fill operation done in that area, some exploratory work. So we're about 5% ahead on that portion of work. And the last and probably the most impactful outside of the road is the park, which is partially paid for with Department of State grant. The goal on that, as you can see, was 25% of that work to be completed. That one got really far ahead. We're currently sitting around 45% complete with a lot of the sidewalk work, a portion of the shade structure, which you'll see in some of the photos, and really a lot of the fill operation to get that site lifted up is complete. So you'll see it, like I said, later in the presentation, some photos, and it's really coming along and taking shape. Next up is more of an in-depth dive into the actual parts and pieces that we did complete over this past construction year. So for that Lake Road project, the realignment and raising that road, we completed the roadway drainage, water line relocation, fill and realignment of the roadway, obviously that's the big one, installation of electrical and communications duct banks. That's what's allowing the power and communications lines to go underground through the park section. That was energized, I believe, last week. So you'll start seeing that getting further along, and those poles on the south side along the bay will start coming down. So installation of the granite curb, installation of base and binder courses of asphalt, which allowed us to open the road. And then we completed the temporary roadway striping for two-way traffic. Remaining for 2023 is completion of the sidewalks along the road, installation of the top course of asphalt and final striping. And then moving forward from now, possibly through the winter, we're waiting on some schedule from RG&E, but we will see installation of street lighting along that corridor. And like I said, with power being moved over, they'll start removing the existing power poles along that stretch as well.
So some photos that we took over the course of this season. These first three are all taken from a very similar angle on the east end of the park. So you can see in this first photo, they've just completed filling in this area. The next photo, you can see they had the base for the road down. And then this final photo, you can see that the granite curb is in and one lane of the roadway has been paved. This is an aerial view from our stockpile, so you can see where the one-way traffic was being routed and then the new road alignment in the stone closer to the north. And then this is what it looks like after the paving was completed and the striping. So you can see all the granite curves in. Both the road and the parking lot on the north side have been paved, but they still remain to be topped, so that's something that will happen next year. Some photos of the electrical work that was done. The first photo is the duct bank prior to it being encased in concrete, which is the second photo. Then there's some drainage work and the curbing. And then this is an interesting aerial. It's looking east from the west side. So you can see how the road now is much more centered within the land, which was an effort to make it more resilient from any flooding in the water.
The next area of work, as mentioned before, is the flood wall. Again, being 2023 work, most of this is going to be work remaining. But the first part and piece that most of the people that were down there saw is the select tree removal. Pretty impactful. It was both on north and south sides of the road, but for the actual flood wall itself, the tree removals is the first step. As we discussed, the project submittals are in, being reviewed by the engineers. The fill operation on the south side of the road is approximately 70% complete. The south parking lot is just stone. It's currently a staging area, but they've done all the infrastructure pieces below that and gotten up to stone at this point. And another big piece was the installation of the Pure Water's grinder pump manhole in front of the pump station. That they'll be installing a new grinder pump in at a later date. Work remaining for 23 is going to be the actual shovel in the ground for installation of that flood wall. We're anticipating that in early spring. Completion of the fill operation, removal and replacement of that existing dock system. You see some photos of that. And then the installation of the kayak launch and some other park elements on that side.
So some photos of work that happened on the south side of the road. You can see the tree clearing that happened early in the spring. The fill operations, that tarped pile there is currently screened topsoil that they'll be using within the project next year. Some drainage work that is outletting into the bay, the subbase for the parking lot, and then just some more clearing and preparation of the flood wall next year. The alignment is kind of approximately along where that black silt fence is shown.
The next area of work is the park. That's the one that changed probably the most. Work completed in 22 is the fill operation, bringing in a ton of fill in that area, really raised the whole profile of that area up. Installation of the stone walls, which you'll see in some of the photos. That's around the playground area and the woodland trail. Rough grading of the woodland trail, which resides on the north side of the project. It's a walkway along the lake. The shade structure foundations are in, as well as the flat work, the concrete work around it. The restroom facility, utilities, as well as the foundation work there is complete. It's waiting until next year to get the actual building installed on top of it. Installation of the multimodal path, although it is not open yet, much of that is complete at this point. And then the concrete flat work, that's the sidewalks and other trailways that are within the park. So work for 23 that remains is the completion of those sidewalks, the installation of the stone dust path along the woodland trail, the installation of the playground, installation of all the landscaping, trees, bushes, and then installation of the actual shade structure and the restroom facility.
Some photos of progress in the park. You can see the tree removal that occurred, the large fill operation that happened in the middle photo, and then some of the pathways roughed in with stone subbase in the final photo. The northern parking lot with curbing and stone base in, which, as I mentioned before, has been paved with binder. Then the woodland path has the stone wall curving around it. And the play area also has a stone wall that's facing Lake Road. And then the final picture is the area that the shade structure will go in. There's nice exposed aggregate concrete in that area, and then it ties into the sidewalk. Wanted to go over those aspects that are going to be the highlight of next year's construction. Some renderings that Bayer Landscape helped us with previously, showing the play area. That center structure is the public restroom, so that's an actual rendering with the finishes that were selected for that building, so it'll look very similar to that. The shade structure, again, that's a rendering of what it will look like, all white with triangular shaped flag structures, whatever you call it. And then lawn areas. And then on the south side of Lake Road, we will be putting in the ADA kayak launch, and there'll be kind of a beach area around it for more putting your boat in directly from the land if you wish. Obviously, it won't be any sort of swimming area, but just access via boat to the water, and an area to kind of sit and look at the area. The dock that will be going in replacement of the existing dock, lots of sidewalks and green space and plantings and multimodal path, which is almost complete, but a lot of the plantings and beautification are still outstanding, and then the flood wall is the big ticket item for next year. Wanted to remind the public that although we did get a little bit more done in the park than we anticipated, it does remain closed. The parking areas, The walkways, they might look inviting, but it is still certainly a construction zone and unsafe to be in. So do not use those areas, and we will be working diligently to get it open to the public by the fall of 2023. Before I go to the last slide, I do have a video to play. So this is a bird's eye view of the progress that was taken last weekend. This is a rendering, it gets better. So it's going from east to west in this view.
That's a drone.
There was a guy in the image earlier, you can see him, he's got a yellow vest.
You can see along the bayside, which is on the left of the screen, that darker asphalt path. That's what we keep referencing as the multimodal path. So you can see most of it is in, but the connectors and ramps to get onto it, leaving out just so no one tries to use them. And then it's on the north side, the lake side, you can see all the concrete that is in, and then certain areas that were intentionally left out so that we can move equipment through the park with some of the next aspects of work that have to get completed in that area. And then that triangle on the north side is obviously where the shade structure will reside.
It's amazing how low the water was by the end of the season. Hopefully it's low when they put the plug over next spring.
So you can see that curved stone wall section. That's where the playground will actually be.
You know, what this doesn't give perspective on, and we walked it a couple of weeks ago in one of our monthly meetings, is that however many 4 to 8 feet of fill. You stand there now, and your view over the bay compared to when it was 4 or 8 foot less, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can definitely see it when you're driving from west to east.
Yeah.
Coming down, you get a lot better view of the bay 4 feet higher as you drive through there, certainly.
Yeah, I did that last weekend, changing the whole landscape and topography of the area. It's just really incredible because, I've driven down here while it was under construction with the traffic and all that, but there's so much going on. You really don't get a full view of what's happening. But now that it's all cleared up and where you are, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be a real gem for the town once it's complete next summer, fall. Yeah, just real quick, I know I said thanks to some earlier in the presentation, but also want to extend it to a few more. Monroe County has been partnering with us for both a portion of the flood wall, and they've been assisting with the design of the roadway as it will eventually be turned back over to them as it is a county road. Their Ready grant was thanks to EFC, Environmental Facilities Corporation. Our Ready grant was contributed by DASNY, and then the Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation has been very in tune with the project, and we do have monthly calls with a lot of agencies involved in this project, so that's been helping us keep on track. And then a big thank you to Keeler. They've been doing a great job out there. They've gotten us ahead of schedule, and they've been a great partner on this project with the town, so kudos to them. And then if there's any questions,
Yeah,
or
Real
anything
quick.
Jared wants to say.
No, I appreciate all the patience, all the neighbors in that specific area had with the project. It's, you know, there's been some bumps, but I think people are kind of seeing the vision of the project and should be appreciative, obviously, of everything it's going to be, but they've been gracious and have allowed the project to move on, and it's been much appreciated on the construction side of things, so, thank you.
Congratulations on the project, you know, under budget and ahead of schedule, so kudos to everyone that's been involved in this.